the next thing is understanding the ultimate client. Because a lot of times it might not be that my risks lies with you whom I've supplied, but you might be a sole one-man show that supplies one client with one product. They buy all your products, so you've got all your eggs in one basket. And that client might have been affected dramatically by this. And how is it going to affect you if you don't have credit insurance, or if you don't have insurance against this kind of thing? It is going to be traumatic. Or if that client is affected, how are we going to help our client to ultimately work through that? I mean, I've touched a little bit on securities in the form of securing or sessioning a contract. So with other words, you've engaged in a contract with someone else and you are ceding that contract to me to goodwill, and I'm going to continue supplying you because I have a session of your contract with one of your major clients from whom you make a good margin and you've got a good business relationship, but I'm rescuing you by taking that as security. So securities are going to play a certain role. They become laborious to manage, of course. What is your thoughts on that, Peter?
You fell away a bit, but I think I picked up most of your questions. So, yeah, security obviously in trade is an important tool to manage your risk, and can help assess or help you mitigate certain risks. I think in trading, your first line of defense is your credit management, and within that credit management, you can obviously you're doing risk assessments on your buyer. You've got certain tools to do that. But if you feel the need that on open account or credit insurance is not enough, and you would like to have additional security, there's a whole variety of securities that you can ask from your buyer. But depending what type of security is also very onerous. It could be very onerous also to get those type of securities in place, and you also have to wonder if those securities can be given to you. But it's definitely, I think, most standard terms and conditions here in South Africa, people sign actually for personal surety. Maybe a lot of people don't maybe really fully realize that, but so there's already a security that you have, unless people very specifically put a cross through it. But yeah. To use security, definitely a tool to mitigate risk, especially if it's a very important client or big exposures, or you feel like the buyer is not 100%. You look at their financials and you think, but you would like to do the deal. Then a security can assist in making the risk more palatable, and that you can continue trading. But security is also quite a legal matter, so also know what you do, get the right advice, and make sure that those documents are well worded and properly done by a legal person. That would be my advice. We see it also within credit insurance that credit insurers, they can give credit limits or cover on a certain buyer subject to security. They normally indicate what type of security it has to be, so they direct the policyholder in that matter, but they leave it up to the policyholder to get that security in place, and that is legally enforceable in a court of law. So definitely, whether you're insured or not, obtaining additional security is definitely a tool to mitigate your risk. But it is also not always easy to get those securities. You can only give away so many securities, right? And most of the securities that you have as in business, they often go to your lenders or your banks. So that's absolutely. I think that's an important note to make.
And what you just touched on is critical. Understand the value of the security. So if someone says to you, okay, I'll cede my debtors to you, how many other sessions have they given already? And
Absolutely.
you just said the lenders usually stand first in line with their hands and say, give me your debtors ledger, because that is a very, very valuable asset in lots of businesses. So the bank sits with first session, and there might be another bank involved who sits with second session, and then you come to third session. Understand if there's values attached to those first sessions, and then if there is still some equity left in those sessions. And then continually you have to monitor, because the debtor ledger does this, the value, and it could change. And any other thing, a personal surety. Is there really value into that personal surety? If someone says, I'll give you a notarial bond over my movable assets, what value is in it? Mm-hmm. If someone says, register a bond over my property, you can go up and down. It is when you do that, understand the value of your security and understand your security.